Here, provided that the size and the composition of senior housing is consistent with the 421A and inclusionary programs. I mean, I don't know, sitting here today, whether you're allowed to give preference to seniors as part of those programs. We just have to look into it, and we'll look into it quickly. I see people nodding their heads, so maybe you can. I just don't know it here.
Richard Barrett can give you the answer to that.
We'll be happy to look into it quickly. We understand your
Richard,
resolution.
are they allowed?
Yeah, and Steve also could send this zoning resolution. It will say that because exception was made, so the equal unit distribution that you wanted from low income to market, exception was made for senior housing. Obviously, you want to preclude senior housing through the inclusionary zoning program.
We'll be speaking to experts like you.
Well,
and others
you'll be in the
very
zoning
quickly.
text. You'll see in the 2390 section.
Got it.
So is that the case?
Good.
Is that the case you're fine with?
Sure, I mean, if it's okay according to the programs that we're part of, sure. Then you talk about much lower AMI levels than the programs allow, than the 421A and inclusionary programs allow. And you mentioned a lot of possibilities of funding to support those lower levels. And we'll look at all of them very quickly. I mean, we haven't. We started to think about it after your meeting last Tuesday. And hard to reach people, and we just started that process. We realized that you have the vote in a couple of weeks, and we have to do a lot of work very quickly, and we'll do the best we can in the time frame available. We hear you.
I just want to address this again. I'm not aware that the inclusionary housing does not allow you to go lower.
And I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm saying that up until we're hearing what you're asking, we were, of course, which I think any developer would do, intending to charge whatever the program allowed. You're telling us that that's not good enough.
Right.
And you're suggesting other mechanisms to provide some support for lower AMIs, and we'll look at it very quickly. You've mentioned a lot of possibilities. You have us going to workshops, and I hear you. We're going to look at that.
Okay.
You point out that the special permit for height and setback would be tied to us seeking inclusionary. That makes sense. You know, we wouldn't need that if we weren't seeking inclusionary. You've talked about reservations for the community. I've heard the discussion here. Again, it's if the programs allow it, great. You know, we have to educate ourselves quickly. We heard statements that the programs, we heard Jack Hammer say that the programs that Greenpoint Landing is looking at do allow it. We will look quickly about inclusionary and 421A to make sure that they're comparable. You mentioned that below the 7th floor, that all the stories in the buildings can be integrated with affordable and market rate units. We'll look at that.
And that would be the non-202. Obviously, if you do a 202 project, that's standalone.
We haven't even looked at those numbers.
I know.
You know, 202.
Well, you just mentioned you were ready to look at it, what do you got?
No, it means that we
Which
haven't,
means up till now, you were ready to look at the program that allow them up, in this case here.
we haven't looked at any 202 funding program at all.
Fine, but we're talking about the rest of the 80/20 being more
We're not,
like
80/20, as I understand it, is obtaining financing, low-interest financing. We weren't looking at that. We were financing in the ordinary way, taking advantage of, or participating in the inclusionary and 421A programs. We have one building, and we've owned it for a year. I think the other project has had a long time and has a lot of buildings, and they've been looking at a lot of programs. We haven't done that. We have. And the last item that you've mentioned is one more item with respect to the rents. Just the rents, that is not an extra charge for amenities. It's sort of all part of the same issue about lowering the rent that people will be compelled to pay. So basically what we're saying is, you've asked us to look at, the main thrust of this is to look at lowering the EMIs to make it more affordable to people in the area. And we will look at all these programs. And you even mentioned the possibility of necessary, I think, that the money that we were going to provide for the park The 8.2 million, that some of that might be used to supplement if there weren't other money available. We'll certainly talk to the administration about that.
I wonder if you want to add,
Well, I do have a question on the 8.2 million. 2005, the rates were estimated to be 12 million, and it seems like it should have gone up rather than down.
I don't know who did the estimating, but the way the price was agreed upon was each side hired an appraiser, and the appraisers talked and negotiated, and that was prices that are current. I can't tell you who estimated $12 million in 2005 when they did this agreement, but I think that the person who did the appraisal for the city was Jerry Hames, as most people would say is one of the top appraisers in the city. So this wasn't done without the benefit of looking at market transactions and coming up with the right number today.
I don't know if anyone is here from the city who can speak to this. I don't know that the developer has any input into what the city decided to sell the
I
rights.
wish they would ask
Is there
this
anyone here
gentleman
who can-
about the reputation of these landlords. I
Can
think
you
they were
come forward,
both in the
please?
worst landlord list. They're well known.
Sorry, thank you. Again,
Thank you.
my name's Scott Solish, I'm from the city's Economic Development Corporation. And as Jay said, yes, we hired Jerome Hames to conduct the appraisal. Who's one of the leading experts in the appraisal field in New York that has worked for the city for a long time, and the appraisal was based off, the deal we struck for the value for the RAs was based off the appraised value. And again, as he said, considering there was only one bidder and only one landing site, we consider that, to get the appraised value was a good thing for the city.
But that was the construct whereby they came up with the 12 million.
I wasn't involved with the appraisal at that time, I don't know who did it, it wasn't UBC did that effort, so it's pretty fast.
Okay, thank you.
I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks. Any other questions?
One question about currently, is any 3 bedrooms proposed to be proposed?
Let me just clarify that we are, I haven't mentioned this to anyone, in both situations, we are proposing the balance of the units to be 30% studio, 35% 1-bedroom, 30% 2-bedroom, 5% 3-bedroom. So that differs from the plan that
Only
you-
slightly, you took the 40% that we had and made it 35, the 40% we had of 1 bedrooms, made it 35, and shifted the extra 5% to 3s, and said within the same 165,000 square feet that we were proposing to make an adjustment. And I don't think we have any problem with that, so long as that's okay with the programs.
Well, if you do a 202, you'll have a lot of studio apartments, so that might balance things out.
2 square foot.
No, right, within the same square footage, and we're open, so long as somebody doesn't own the problem. There won't be a problem with inclusionary, because that's just percentages. And we're providing 28% of our units right now, with the 200 are affordable at various levels.
Well, you understand that the community does not feel that 80% is affordable. So
I understand.
We are, from our vantage point, we're not providing any affordable, so we're trying to help you to rework things so that we do get some affordability.
So your resolution is clear on that point.
I know.
I think
Thank you.
this resolution just on the last meeting, or what is the issue? Why is there these requests were they sent to the developer for this meeting today?
No, they were not. I wanted the committee to see.
No, but I was thinking that we will send to them, and we'll come back with a more clear answer.
Well, I didn't want to send them before the committee was. Yes.
So when you originally set out to plan this development on 77 Commercial, when approximately did you go forward with your preliminary analysis of what you were planning to do to come up with your plan? When did you start that project? When did it commence?
I mean, the plan with the with the development rights from the MTA.
Right.
When
The
we-
the additional affordable housing and the whole scheme that you presented us at the booklet, when did that all take shape?
Started to take shape.
When did you start that?
Shortly after the first of the year.
It would be what, somewhere like after January or something?
In January, we started.
About a half a year ago or more?
Well, the contract wasn't signed with the city.
Okay, yeah, I don't have a card, but just when you started to think about what you wanted to go forward with.
Definitely in January.
So who did you meet with aside from HPD?
We didn't meet with anybody.
Okay, so who did you meet with?
We met with.
Did you meet with any members of the community regarding the issues that we're now presenting to you, which is basically determining that this plan isn't good enough?
We did
So
not.
what did you anticipate would be a good plan if you didn't come to the community to see what the issues were at hand here with respect to the parks and with respect to the affordable housing, problem of people being displaced over the last several years, if you see it's a critical issue? Did anybody analyze that this neighborhood has specific problems to itself that you needed to address, rather than standing here today and saying, we're gonna go back and look at that because now we see what you're talking about? That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, you can see, based on what I'm hearing today.
And we had our meetings over at Borough Hall, remember? You know, when you came down at Borough, Borough President's office, I was there, remember?
I remember very
Right?
well.
And didn't I speak to you about the problems that we were having at that time? Didn't I raise those questions and say, better be prepared, because the community has suffered here, and you better be prepared to answer? That was, how many months ago? That was about 3 months ago?
I think it was a little sooner than that.
All right, maybe. But this is what we were talking about.
I hear you.
So